right? So you get better isolation, so you get better ride, but it also feels solid.
Yeah, it's lighter, but it feels heavier.
Yeah, it's a very good way to
And not in the steering, just in the
like the agility, sort of the feel of it.
Yeah. Oh boy, it pulls hard.
Yeah, it does, right?
Yeah, it pulls hard all the way up.
Welcome to that episode of Jay Leno's Garage, the car featuring today an early look at the 2026 Model Y. A lot of upgrades on this. You'll find out what they are. Here's my favorite thing about working with Tesla. See, a lot of times they'll send like a product person or a sales representative. We have the designer, Franz, who designed it, and Lars, the engineer, tell us all about the car. And these are the guys that made it what it is today. Let's bring them in. Franz and Lars, how you doing, guys?
Good to see you. Hey, Jay, good to see you.
How are you?
It's so nice. That's right, Jay. You know, the new, you always get those kind of product guys. And that's what I like about Tesla. Cut right to the quick, get the guys that actually built the thing. Very cool. Now, the front end looks a lot cleaner to me. That's your area, design. That's the thing I picked up. But I'm sure there's a lot more subtle little design things here, isn't it? Because it's not just about design, it's about aerodynamics, correct?
Well, it's about design and engineering, and aerodynamics is a part of that. And when we work together really well, we end up with a great product. You know, the idea with the new Model Y was to take the best-selling vehicle on the road and make it better. And we listened to customer feedback, something we're really good at doing. We just looked at, you know, what we're doing with new design language for Cybertruck, Cybercab, and you start to see that emerging in the new Model Y as well. So again, the front really distinctive now. It has its own personality. I think that's something that was lacking on the outgoing Model Y. You know, a lot of people thought it's just like a bigger Model 3. Now it has its own unique headlights, unique front end look, and with that, we were able to make the car more efficient. So, giving back range.
Is this the best-selling car in this segment of the market?
It's the best-selling car in the world in 2023.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
And we think 2024. The numbers aren't out yet, but we're pretty sure 2024 as well.
You know what's funny? Because people who don't really know, well, how many cars is Tesla selling? Like 10,000? No, it's the best. It's the best-selling car in the world now.
Yeah,
and the luxury segment beats Mercedes-Benz, Lexus, everybody combined.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing. Each year, the change is just subtle. It just becomes a better-looking version.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and this
that's
is
my
the
job.
dual motor version.
This is the dual motor. It's actually, we're starting with the launch edition. And then all of the other variants, the dual motor base edition, rear-wheel drive, performance, 7-seater options, those will come later in the year.
And this is about, what, 46,000?
So yeah, the base price of launch edition is $46,990, but we get all the bells and whistles, including everything. It's $59,990 to start, and then
Yeah, but that's with dual motor.
Dual motor in launch edition is 455 horsepower, 430 foot-pounds of torque. The base dual motor is 410 horsepower, but you know that's like it's not just horsepower; it's the torque that matters. And we get that power straight off the line. So 0 to 60 is improved on this car. Goes 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds.
Well, that's the old saying: horsepower sells cars, torque wins races.
That's right.
Yeah. I was talking with someone. They said, "Oh, I like these headlights." But these are not the headlights.
Correct.
These are not the headlights.
Yeah, these are not the headlights.
This is just a light bar.
Headlights are actually down here.
Okay.
And this is a distinctive light bar. Also DRL, daytime running lights. So required. You know.
Well, let me ask you something about the headlights. Now these look lower to me. There's something about the light that's different because it seems like this would be awful low to meet the.
Yeah, I mean the headlight height requirement doesn't change based on the vehicle type. And so actually the headlight position there, the fender's raised just a little bit.
Yep.
The old headlight was about here.
Right.
So it is a couple inches lower, but it's still well within the requirements.
Okay.
Cool thing about the headlights, you know, they're matrix style headlights, so they have the ability to change their, you know, their beam pattern. And we're going to launch in a couple of months right after we start delivering automatic adaptive driving beams. So first in the US should be, when other cars are coming at you, the lights will turn off to the oncoming traffic so they don't get blinded.
Yeah, because, you know, I noticed something, maybe it's me, I'm maybe getting old. The LED headlights seem so much brighter.
Oh, they're bright.
I mean, I come up with a Coldwater Canyon and a car's coming, I'm like...
Yeah, blinded.
I'm like, geez, and I'll flash my lights and realize, those are the low beams.
Yeah.
They flash me back.
Yeah. But with this matrix technology now, you know, we'll be able to not blind you.
Right.
but you'll still be able to see everything else on the road. So.
Okay,
So
very
safer
good.
for you and for the people coming at you.
Yeah, very good. What else do we have new at the front?
I mean, the front end, like, I think it's a very good, you were talking about the design, Franz, but like it's a great merge of engineering and design. So we get the look Franz wants, but with this light bar, we also get improved front end aerodynamics. We have this kind of faceted sort of shingled feature here that allows us to flow the air up over the top faster and quicker than before and get a nice laminar flow going on the back. The coefficient of drag, overall is down as low as 0.22 now, depending on what wheels and tires you have. It's like a 4 or 5% improvement. It's really because of this front end. The other cool thing it did was it made it safer for pedestrian impacts and also frontal crash. We were able to get a much better pulse, reduce the occupant injury, and give you a better, not that you should hit people, but if you do get
If
hit,
you did, yeah.
like, you fall softer under the hood.
They have to bounce off and get up laughing.
Yeah.
And a little Easter egg, we have a front camera now, so pretty exciting for people that want to see what's down right in front of them. You don't hit a curb anymore.
And that gives us the ability to do the 360-degree view, which, right now is in all our cars with Tesla sort of vision showing that emulated view, but now we have the ability to
Frank, let me ask you something as a designer, because to me, one of my favorite years for design was 1966, because from that point on, all these government rules came in. You could design the Lamborghini Miura.
Mm-hmm.
You could design whatever you want. I don't want bumpers or anything. I don't want anything in the front of it. And do you sort of yearn for those days? You just have pure design, because now the design has to earn its due. It can't look good but not be efficient. Efficiency comes first.
Correct. I mean, I think the role of the designer is to take the rules and regulations and make them feel like they don't actually exist.
Right.
And then I think we do a pretty good job of that with our group, where we make a beautiful looking car that meets all the regulations and all the engineering requirements, but it doesn't feel like it's kind of hit with that ugly stick.
Right,
So
right, yeah.
in a way, having some guardrails, I think, is actually good. But yeah, of course, we want to do the really wild, crazy stuff. And maybe one day
When
we'll
I
get
look
back to
at
that.
when the what was it, the 5960 Chevy came out with the bat wing rear
Yeah,
and they had,
exactly.
It works as a pontoon to
Right.
keep you
Right.
all this phony stuff.
The stories are great, right?
Yeah. The rear end would lift up and hilarious. So
I mean, definitely yearn for those days, but again, having the guardrails also makes us focus, because you can get lost in the ability to do anything.
Are you surprised we still have side view mirrors?
Yeah.
Because I would have
bit.
thought by this point we'd have just a small camera here, and
like the one right below
This is an enormous piece of equipment here, and the drag must be.
Yeah, we actually
substantial.
added a feature. You can
see
see
that
your
one?
hand is on it. That
Yeah.
feature is to improve the aero drag, but also the acoustic drag on the windows. So the cabin noise is quieter. With this little ridge here, it actually helps the airflow around.
Because I found with monocars, sometimes we go, just trying to see around
around the mirror.
the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's coming soon. We'll replace that with a monitor inside the car,
Right.
kind of equal size. But actually, with full self-driving, you don't need mirrors at all,
Yeah.
right? The car is going to drive for you, so you just sit back.
But you still want to.
Europe has regulations that allow what Franz just
Right.
talked about. The U.S. and the rest of the world just have to catch up.
Well, we're always late with that. I remember in 1957 when dual headlights came out, in a lot of states they had to make a single headlight model.
Yeah.
Because Connecticut you couldn't do it. A few other dual headlights are too bright.
If only they saw today's LED.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there are still some rules like that. In some states, they dictate, one or two states dictate what all the requirements for every state
Yeah.
have to be. We have to abide by that.
I will say, when it comes to design and engineering, and Franz, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I tell my team, and we try to bend over backwards to give the designers whatever they want. Other companies I've worked at, in the past, it's sort of engineering, here's the rule, here's the regulation. And at Tesla, we're like, okay, that's what you want. Let's figure out how we can make it work. Kind of like this headlight situation we were talking about. I don't know, nominally people would have probably just put it up here. But Franz didn't want this two beam sort of headlight thing. We're like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll figure it out.
We wanted to make a non-traditional front end. We wanted to kind of take it into the future. We started seeing that with the Cybertruck and Cybercab, so we want to continue that futuristic.
Well, it is funny,
feel.
because you can't sell something before it's time. We learned in history, when the Chrysler Airflow came out, oh, what a beautiful car. Smooth, aerodynamic, but it didn't look didn't have
Of
a
its
big
time.
grill that
Yeah.
like
Right.
this to push
Right.
the air out of
Right.
the way, you know. And people, it doesn't look expensive. It didn't have a big ornament on the front of a man or a bird or something. Like Duesenberg hated that.
Yeah, you did.
But everybody wanted an ornament when they bought a Duesenberg. So the dealers came out with what they called the Duesenbird, that long
The little bird. Yeah.
little thing
Right.
on the front.
Right.
And that was not factory. You know, the engineers were like, no, we don't want. Oh, all right, fine, that's what people want.
Funny you should say that, Jay. You may notice
no grill on the
there's no
front.
grill and no
Right.
badge up front. We
Right.
took the T off. We figured Franz's styles were iconic enough. People know it's a Tesla.
But you know, and like after the war, they didn't call it a hood ornament; they called it a gun sight.
Yeah.
You know, so you had like
Yeah.
you had a fighter pilot
Right.
sort of thing on your car.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Just but remember the turn signals are out here on the Chrysler.
Yeah.
With the little
You have
tips
to
on
look
them.
outside to see if the blinkers on.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
And his Pontiac actually had the crosshatch, you know, that we could like see right down the middle.
Now I noticed for a while there, disappearing windshield wipers was a big deal.
Tuck 'em under.
Yeah, but now they're sort of visible again. Is there much drag with these?
Well, luckily there's just a hint of a flip in the hood.
Yeah, I see
in
that.
in the surface, so it
Yeah.
really is just deflecting the air over. And it's always a game of how small can we make this to allow the wipers to come out. We still need pressure on the wipers so that they actually clean the glass when you need them. And so we're just always playing with that balance. And these are they're just out of the airflow.
Well, like that car over there, that Citroen SM, that's the best car to drive in the rain because you don't need the wipers.
It just goes around there.
It just
Yeah.
goes. I mean, in a heavy rain, obviously,
Right.
really. But for the most part, I rarely turned them on. And that's 1971, so that's 50 years ago. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Okay, let's move along down the line here. What else do we have?
I mean, the wheels are new and tires. This is actually our lowest combination rolling resistance and aerodynamic wheel and tire set that we've ever put on an SUV.
Right.
This is the Helix version 2. On the other one, on the 19-inch, you get the Crossflow, has removable covers. But these are, you know, we spend a lot of time down here in this airflow area. You can see how the tire comes and meets the wheel like this.
Right.
This like transition here is super important to keeping the air tight on the side of the car and reducing that drag. So a lot of work went into that with the team. Similarly, we got this little lip here on the edge of the side repeater. That's actually to self-clean the camera.
Okay.
So it creates an eddy current in the air. It comes up and flows over and it cleans that camera and makes sure that there's no water getting on the camera there.
I mean, Lars, you also mentioned that, like, we have an air curtain, so
Yes.
air comes through here, and you can see it comes out here and flows just over the tire. So combining that with the design of the lip of the rim and the section of the tire, you just get a really clear.
Now, one feature I would always see in cars of the future would be skirts. The wheel would be enclosed, and the rear would be just see the bottom of the tire.
Yeah.
And it sort of made sense. Oh, aerodynamics, that's great. But that never caught on, did it? It's just too much
Well, I
trouble.
mean, the front tires have to turn, so that's
Right.
always a problem.
Right.
You had some of those older cars where they encased it in the
The
housing.
whole fender, yeah.
And then the rear, like really with everything Fran's talking about, like the benefits just aren't, they outweigh the cons because then you can't change the tire, you got to
Right.
take off the thing.
Right.
And like we don't really have that much, detachment back there or anything from even the shape we have here.
And people like to see the wheels, like on your Citroen right there.
Right,
You
right,
couldn't
yeah.
see the rear wheel, and it doesn't feel as sporty. And
Obviously, the flush handles.
Same handles.
same,
flushes
yeah,
before.
same handles. Not so much new on the body side. There's a lot new in the interior. We'll get to that in a little bit.
And this is a pretty high roof line.
This roof is actually just a couple of fractions of an inch shorter than the old Model Y, but we have the same interior headroom.
Yeah.
But
Well, I remember Ed Welburn telling me the height of the average American automobile now is the same as it was in 1938.
Oh, I
Because
believe
there's so
that.
many
I believe
SUVs.
the SUVs,
You know,
yeah.
and the Sono, and the
Yeah.
guys here, and the roof is up here.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where we are again.
Yeah,
He-
same
he,
place.
He thought that was pretty funny for some reason. We haven't come that far because it's the same height as it was in 1938.
All cyclical, right?
that roof's super cool though. That roof is the first application of low Mississippi glass
Right.
in an automotive application. You get that a lot in
And what
architectural
kind of glass did you call it?
Low Mississippi, low E.
Okay.
Heard of low E, it's architectural glass usually.
Right.
But what that does is allows us to reject about 25-30% more of the heat that's coming in the car. With a glass roof, obviously you can get hot in the sun.
Right.
And so we actually put what that technology is it's like micro deposits of silver all throughout the glass. And that silver reflects the heat and it keeps the cabin, cooler on the inside. But you wouldn't know that by looking at it.
Well, it's interesting because when that Citroen DS came out, that had a fiberglass roof because it was extremely light. I mean, you're sort of raising your center of gravity. How heavy is this piece of glass? Is it heavier than just having an aluminum roof?
You know, when you have an aluminum roof, you often add the headliner in.
Right.
So adding a full glass roof with the open headliner ends up only being a couple of pounds heavier. And
okay.
For the benefit that you get in terms of like occupant headspace and the view of the car and the aerodynamics, in the view, it's probably
when you're inside the car, the view out feels airy and spacious. Right. It doesn't feel like you're closed in.
Now these wheel covers, I mean, it looks like a simple design, but there's a lot of thought went into the aerodynamics of this turbine for the way it's churning the air, correct? Like, for example, is this more efficient than if you just had like a moon hubcap, just smooth?
Well, the ideal scenario that Franz knows we go for is like a moon hubcap.
Exactly.
Right? But actually, what's most important for the aerodynamics as the wheel is spinning is out on the outside. So you see this outer inch here. Mm-hmm. If you actually reach behind it, you'll notice there's nothing behind there. That right there, you see how it falls away?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That right there is really the 80-20 for us when it comes to aerodynamics, and that's where we put a lot of effort in. And then Franz does a lot of work to try and make the wheel still flow down to the center, look big, look sporty, while giving us that little surface.
Now, to the uninitiated, it seems that like that churning air would force cool air into the brakes. Is that what it does? Does it sort of?
It actually kind of pumps it out.
Pulls it out.
It sucks it from underneath.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's different front and rear, so the aerodynamic flow, the air through the wheel is different in the front and the rear. So, ideally you'd want a different wheel design for the front than in the rear, and then multiply that to the same. But they're the same, from an efficiency perspective. So we balance it front and rear.
Okay. Very good. Okay, let's see what else we have.
The back end is great. It's really new stuff back here.
Well, this is my favorite part of the car, the rear. Especially these haunches here. I first became aware of that on a car. David North designed the 66 Tornado, and it looked like
shoulders, right?
It looked like shoulders.
Yeah.
It looked like when you see an animal like a cougar about to.
Yeah.
The Miura has that too, and so the feminine front end, masculine rear end, which is kind of neat. And this is I was looking at this thinking, what am I missing here? And then I realized, there's no light here, is there?
This is super cool. This is a world first. Right?
Yeah, first in the industry, we believe, of an indirect running light, basically. So there's no direct light that you see. It's all reflected on this panel. We've designed the custom texture, and then we just drop out the word mark. And it really creates a unique, fresh look. There's a lot of cars with, LED light strips that go across the car.
Right.
This is really soft and just gives a really fresh, new way.
Well, it's interesting because you think there'd be some government regulation. No, you must have a light right here.
Right.
It cannot be reflected. It cannot be. But there's not, is there?
Well, there is. There's a light. The regulation is how much lumens come off the surface, but it never defines what kind of surface that has to be.
Right.
So this is what I was talking about earlier, where we try really hard to give the team what they want. So the light's actually coming from up top, and it's reflecting off that surface that Franz talked about. But the amount of light you see is actually
meets the requirement.
Now, is this a third brake light as well?
No, third brake light's still in the
glass.
glass.
Oh, it's in the. Okay, I can't see it.
And then the brake lights and turn indicators are still here, so you still get a little bit of that distinctive look when the brakes are on.
Okay.
Cool story about this. Franz and I were in the studio, and originally this was a 3-piece lamp.
Yeah.
And I remember Franz standing there behind it, looking at the brake and the light, because when you had 3 pieces, we had a tiny little gap.
Right.
Franz is like, I hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it. And he's looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, it's got to be 1 piece.
Yeah.
And so we actually had to go with our lighting supplier.